everyone. Welcome to our book launch event, and thanks for tuning in. My name is Kris Bawden. I'm the communications chair for the Pipers and Pipe Band Society of Ontario, and Michael Gray, of course, is the president, and he asked me to host his book launch event. So thanks for tuning in, and you'll recognize possibly another guest who's on the screen with us, John Slavin, former editor of Piping Today. And anytime you have a group of enthusiasts like you do for piping and drumming, I think there's always an appetite for people with reading material. Michael Gray has been one of those writers that many have been drawn to for some time now. And today it seems like his writing craft has distilled into this book release. We're here to discuss, to celebrate, congratulate, to learn more about Gray's notes on a life around bagpipes. Now, John Slavin, Michael described you to me as a sort of co-founder or a catalyst for this book's development. Maybe tell us about your relationship and your involvement or what it's been.
Well, I got to know Mike about 2010 when I was looking for writers for the Piping Today magazine. And anytime I met a piper, I asked, can you write? So it was just a process of meeting people and asking. I eventually got a few, but I found Gray's notes, Mike's blog online, and then just sent a very tentative email, hoping that I would get a receptive answer. And it came back saying, I think I would like that. And I'm like, oh, that'd be great. And couldn't pay much money. So I was kind of, if you'd like to do it, and I would be delighted. And Mike eventually said, do you want me to do this or not? Kind of in words. He wrote that. I said, aye, please write. And that started it. And from then on, well, I knew the quality of his writing from the Gray's notes online, his blog. And then it got better and better as he gave me stuff to put into the print magazine. We took it from there. I think he wrote a couple, and then he was due to come over to Glasgow for Celtic Connections. So I was meeting him on a Friday night for pints in Babbity Bowster in Glasgow. And when I arranged to meet him, I thought I'd need to give him directions. And he's like, I know Glasgow. So I was surprised. And I didn't know Mike. I knew Mike from the CDs, but I didn't know Mike of the guy that had came over to Glasgow for 20 years and kind of been in Glasgow more than I ever had. So We had a great night in Babbity Bowsters with Malky Bo, laughing and drinking and getting to know each other. And from then on, we've just been friends, and Mike's wrote some fantastic material for Piping Today.
Well, surely then you must be excited for this book release to see how it's all sort of come to this point then.
Oh, I'm delighted that it's all together in the one place and people can get to read it. And it will reach a new audience, I'm sure, because it will reach people that the magazine didn't get to before. People will pick it up because of Mike Gray's name's on the cover.
Yeah.
Just a word on John. I remember one thing that you've helped me with a lot was, as I said in the book, encouragement. But sometimes I'd write stuff and I think this is way too out there. And John said, no, it's good, go for it. And I'm thinking he's just wants to see me go up in flames, I think. But it always worked out in the end.
Mike's writing talent always amazed me, because I used to say to any writer, I said, if you can write an article for the enthusiast that informs the enthusiast, but if someone for the public happened to pick this up on the train and had half an hour to kill, could they read the article and be interested? And Mike's articles ticks that box every time, because he'll start with some sort of idea that he has. It's got nothing to do with piping, and go and research it and give you fantastic quotes and facts about all sorts of stuff, whether it's Motown music or God knows the stuff he's written about, and then lead it back and make it relevant to piping and pipers. And it was just astounding how he did it time after time, whether he was telling stories about his own piping or old pipers that he'd met, or wandering about Edinburgh finding stuff in an antique shop, or just, it was magical writing. Every word just kind of drew you in, and then he would make it relevant to the reader at the end. So a person for the public could be reading this thinking, this is great, I love this, I love the guy's style of writing, he's got me hooked. And then at the end, he makes it relevant to piping and pipers, and it was perfect writing.
Michael, he described it as magical. Do you do you feel magic when you're putting pen to paper? Or?
It's the cross I have to bear, Chris, you know.
Now, John, you've talked a lot about the positives of Michael, but was there ever a time as the editor that you had to say, whoa, enough is enough, or that's taking too far? Is he trying to get too hot of a take out of this article?
No, very rarely, but there was, because the publication was published by the National Pipe Centre, it had to have a certain level of language or words that...
A decorum, if you will.
Yeah, decorum. So certain things weren't allowed, but Mike would put them in for me to enjoy, and then I would send them on to the principal of the college for him to enjoy, and then come back and say, no, sorry, that's not going in. And he would put his red, but at least I got to enjoy them. And Roddy McLeod, the principal, got to enjoy them. And then he told me, that's not happening, John, forget it. But the occasional ones did slip through, but there was certain other ones that just could never go into print.
There is slang words, and some of the slang words are like on that don't cross the they don't cross the ocean very well. They might be okay in Canada, and if you cross in the UK, this word, for instance, would be really not okay. And I don't have to say it because in Canada it'd be fine to say it, but so just leave it. But sometimes that'd be that kind of stuff. And I had John's right. I had a good feeling it wouldn't go very far.
Right. So is that the freedom that you get in releasing the book now, Michael? Do you get to spill out all the...
I'll tell you, the word that was X'd out in by the National Piping Center and John and Roddy is in the book.
Okay. All right. There's the tease right there. We don't need bigger tease to go and buy the book to find out. That's what I like. and Michael, how long has a book been in your mind? Obviously, you write a lot, and you know and people do, you know, are drawn to your writing. But when did the idea of publishing a book first pop into your head?
Well, this has been over 10 years in the making. It's not just Piping Today. It's selections from my blog that I thought were had some kind of merit. So this represents really my life around bagpipes for a long time, and reflections from that are a result of a lifetime of living around them. So I had an idea that I wanted to keep this in one place, and a couple of people encouraged me. Well, more than a couple. 3 encouraged me to do this.
And I'm looking at the artwork here, and who came up with the design? Was this also? I'm assuming, Michael, it was you that also did the artwork.
No, this is John. That artwork. The book cover is representation of all of John's graphics over the years. And so each one of those represents a story. And John, you can talk more about that.
Yeah, John, tell us some of the stories behind this artwork.
Yeah, well, the idea was just to kind of bring a collage of images together that had featured in the magazine over the years. And there's a random collection of images there that sort of mean nothing on their own, but putting together as a sort of symbolises Gray's notes over the past 10 years in the magazine. So that was that. And the background is I don't know if you can properly see it, but the idea was an old suitcase, and it was the idea of Mike travelling back and forward across the Atlantic. Mm-hmm. And I added that wee Canadian and Scottish flag, which was never in the magazine, but I just thought that was perfect for a wee representation, and just kind of finished the cover off there at centre bottom. So it tied in the travelling between Canada and Scotland, and the images tell the stories of what he got up to and what he had to say.
And I have to ask, if everything has a symbol or a story or a blog or an article behind it, I have to ask, why is there a white glove holding a fork with a sausage on it? What does that represent? Are we allowed to spoil that, or do we have to buy the book for that too?
I don't remember.
That is about. I'll tell you, that is about the big prize money in all-you-can-eat competitions, like hot dog and sausage eating competitions. There's big prize money on these circuits all over the world, and when you compare that to the prize money in piping and pipe band competitions, it's not a favorable comparison.
Yeah, how does the guy Joey Chestnut, I think is his name, who eats a billion hot dogs?
That's right.
The Coney Island champion of hot dog eating. Yeah, that's so funny that that's worked its way into your artwork. That's quite a distillation of things. John, thank you for zooming in across the ocean. Of course, the time difference always makes things complicated between Canada and Scotland, but you're no stranger to it. And I know that your collaboration with Michael over the years, it's special that you're here tonight.
Thanks very much, Chris. It was a pleasure being here. Good luck with the book, Mike.
Awesome.
Thanks a lot, John. Take care of yourself.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, the book launch is underway. It's just Michael and I now. John has departed our session, but you're going to really get things ramped up. Michael, you've got a couple of tunes you want to play for us, originals?
Yeah, so I'll play a hornpipe and jig. The first one is Pipe Major Duncan Nicholson, and the second from my lovely neighbor, the Head Street Curtain Rustler.
Oh dear. Is there a story? There must be a story behind
the story is in the title. I'll leave it at that.
Enjoy, everybody. The book launch continues here. Michael Gray and myself, Kris Bawden, the host. Thank you again for having me host this, Michael. Now we're going to have a bit of a departure here on our live stream tonight. When you first suggested that this is what we were going to do, I thought, what? We're going to reach out beyond the mortal plane and contact piping greats of old through a sort of seance? We're going to do it tonight. And Angus Mackay is who we're reaching out to this evening. Why, of all the great piping figures of the past, Michael, why Angus? Could have been Willie Ross.
Well, Angus lived a short but storied life, and he packed in a lot in his short lifespan, and he died tragically, escaping an insane asylum in Dumfries. And he died, as you'll find out, it was tragic. And he's been dead a long, long time. So the chances that in doing this will offend close descendants is less likely than if we did this for someone who's not that long dead.
I understand. Well, here we are. If you, depending on your time zone, if you want to light some candles or turn the lights down low, let's reach out and speak with Angus Mackay.
Angus Mackay. He'll be known at least by name to many of you. Born on September 10th, 1813, under the astrological sign of Virgo, on Raasay, an island off the northwest coast of Scotland, he was to become one of history's most important pipers. Guided in large part by his father, John Mackay, an important piper of his time, Angus was to become a player of prodigious capability. His performance talent aside, he was one of the first to present pipe music on the cold page with any sense of trueness to its origins. Aside from the scores of examples of light music, he transcribed and made public his masterwork, Collection of Ancient Pibroch, laid the foundation for generations of aficionados of Kilmore. Angus published the book in 1838, very early in his life, and yet his genius would prevail, and Ancient Pibroch stands as the backbone for the early numbers of the Pibroch Society's collection, and bedrock too for generations of pipers seeking to learn the big music. Angus Mackay packed a lot into a short life. He married, had 4 children, and for 11 years was piper to Queen Victoria, that great lover of all things of Sir Walter Scott's Scotland. Around 1854, things started to turn for Mackay. He experienced mental illness that saw him committed to institutional care. He died in Dumfries on March 21st, 1859, while trying to escape by swimming the River Nith. His body was never found. This past January's full moon saw me with an unbelievably rare opportunity to sit down with a dram and a particular tremulous Ouija board to make a connection with the late legendary piper. Angus was good to talk, but only if we didn't dwell on his piping life. What follows is a lightly edited record of our trans-dimensional psychic chinwag. Angus, it's you. Are you there?
What do you want?
A few questions, if you don't mind.
A few only. I do not have all day.
But you're dead.
Well, that's what you think. People still play my scores and tunes, do they not? You found my address, too.
Right you are. So what happened to you? Your life on Earth didn't seem to end well.
And whose life ends well? I saw things others didn't. For that, I was locked away. There are many things worse than death, and I was in a living hell in Dumfries. All things considered, I thought a late night swim in the river was worth the risk of my mortal ending. As it turned out, I was right. Again.
Understood. What personal accomplishment are you most proud of?
My children. There is no doubt and no question.
Do you consider the publication of your Pibroch collection while only 25 an accomplishment?
Of course. Are you a ninny? People go on about how young I was. I'd been piping all my life and playing at a very high level since before the age of 13. I had the best teacher in the country at arm's length my whole life, my dear father. And 25, the average lifespan at that time was about 39 years. At 25, I was well past middle age. I should have had more books published by then.
What's your earliest memory?
While very young, I can clearly recall arriving with my mother and father and brothers at Drummond Castle. We travelled almost 200 miles by foot from Raasay with only a couple of poor ponies to carry our possessions. When we arrived, we were starving. More than any other part of the journey, what I remember most is the delicious taste of that warm broth we were given by one of the castle boots near the entrance to the grounds. Hunger truly is the best sauce.
Have you ever worn trousers?
Are you joking?
Oh, not this time.
No, I have not. Or not that I recall. Her Majesty loved a man in a kilt. I aimed to oblige in whatever way I was able.
You have a sense of humor.
Well, I'm talking to you.
Thanks.
Well, any piper who's walked the boards and played his blessed heart out for prizes has a sense of humour. If he didn't when he started, he'd have one when he was done.
Do you know any good jokes?
Well, I overheard Her Majesty at one dinner gathering honouring the Duke and Duchess of Argyll, and one where I had the pleasure of playing and the privilege, and she regaled the party with this shiny gem. What is the difference between a tube and a foolish Dutchman? One is a hollow cylinder, and the other a silly Hollander.
Good fun. What's your favorite food?
Well, I'm partial to a nice single haggis when one can be found.
Do you have any regrets?
None in my lifetime, but I surely am sorry to see that 20th century piece of writing published, the one dismissing the life works of me and my family. That book, The MacCrimmon Legend, The Madness of Angus Mackay.
Oh, understandable. On a different note, are you a religious person? Do you believe in God, a higher power?
Well, I remember my father's funeral. He died in 1848. He was buried back home on Razzie. It was a late summer's day. The air was cool, the sun was setting, and it was my good brother John who was charged with playing him away. The setting was serene. The large gathering of congregants were still and solemn. John's pipes were perfect. He played "Hooray and hooray, hooray and hooray." Patrick Moore MacCrimmon's Cooin a Clunya never sounded better. It was otherworldly, godlike, and the scene just glowed. Such divine beauty, the indescribable greatness of the music is undeniably immortal. It comes from somewhere beyond. Great art, great music, and what happened that day on our old Razzie hillside, it makes me believe in God too.
On that, I'll thank you, Angus, for your time.
You're welcome. You may call again.
Michael Gray, and Gray's Notes. We're here to celebrate and to honor it, and of course, the haunting Pibroch to exit our seance this evening. We're at the tail end of our book launch event, and we've invited Jenny Hazzard to perform 5 tunes that I wish I'd composed. Michael, these are 5 tunes that you personally wish that you had written yourself.
Yeah, so this is in the book, and I write about this. And whenever you're short on copy, it seems to me a writer would always leans to a list of things, 5 things, 10 things, 7.5 things. And so I went and thought about 5 things, 5 tunes I really like and wished, because I respect their greatness, I wished I'd composed. So a covetous list, as I call it. And the first one up is, it's not a pipe tune per se, it's a Gaelic song that has become a garden favorite in the Highland piping repertoire. And it's from the Horomonin Dan Voyach, which is, we call the brown-haired maiden. And what we're going to hear isn't Jenny. We're going to see a clip from a very famous movie made by a couple of directors known as the Archers. And people who are into movies will know these two, Michael Powell and Emmerich Pressburger. This movie was made in 1945. It's called I Know Where I'm Going. And it's a great movie on many of the top 10 and top 100 lists of all time for movies. So I invite you to check it out. It was filmed on the island of Mull, and it's a very atmospheric and a great movie. So there's a little piping in it, and so we've clipped some of that. It's brisk, and it's at 130 beats a minute. Just one last thing on this movie. Martin Scorsese said that just when he thought there was no more masterpieces to be found in the world of cinema, he stumbled on I Know Where I'm Going. So this is a 1 minute and 40 second scene featuring 3 pipers from this movie.
Kiloran, and every future MacNeil of Kiloran, if they should ever cross the threshold of the castle, there's the curse carved in stone on the ramparts, there to this day. It's a terrible strong curse. It goes. This is the curse of Katrina MacLean of Eric. My curse on MacNeil of Kiloran, and every MacNeil after him, if he shall ever cross the threshold of Moy, never shall he leave it a free man.
We're reviewing the 5 tunes that I wish I'd composed. Choices by Michael Gray, and we heard that produced version from, what was the name of the movie again, Michael?
I Know Where I'm Going.
I Know Where I'm Going, and high praise from even a great like Martin Scorsese, worth checking out. And we'll continue on with our list here, the 5 tunes I wished I'd composed. What's next, Michael?
So this is one of the great tunes. You're going to hear me say great a lot. I'll try and find a synonym. Pipe Major George Ross's Farewell to the Black Watch, written by Willie Laurie, composer, piper, great of the Bagpipes, died at only 35 years of age, I believe, and wrote some of our most well-known and beloved tunes. This tune is a minor key technical monster of a tune. It's one of the hardest tunes. It's right up there with Rossshire Volunteers and the Glengarry Gathering for technical heft. And I just love this tune. It's driving, and it's full of power and interest, and I love the technique in it. So here Jenny does a fantastic rendition of it.
Gray's notes on a life around bagpipes. That's why we've all gathered here this evening, the book launch for Michael Gray, and we're concluding it with a list of 5 tunes I wish I'd composed. And by I wish, I mean Michael Gray wishes that he had composed. And next up, we're having Jenny Hazzard perform some of these tunes as well. So thanks to Jenny. What's next on the list, Michael?
So the Mist-Covered Mountains. And again, this is not a pipe tune per se. It comes from a Gaelic song written by John Cameron from Ballachulish on the west coast of Scotland. And this tune is just pure melody and extremely original, and has a very haunting vibe to it, and which with a structure that's not, an A-B phrase predictable kind of layout for a pipe composition. So this is another one that I add to my Covetous list, the Mist-Covered Mountains.
Jenny Hazzard performing Mist-Covered Mountains. All right, we're getting down to the bottom of our list. The 5 tunes I wished I'd composed, and our book launch evening here. Michael Gray, we have 2 more tunes left on our top 5 list that you'd wished you'd composed. What are we looking at?
So we'll hear these 2 tunes together. The first one is Donald MacLeod's composition, Susan MacLeod, the Strathspey. It's one of the most, if not the most original Strathspey 4-parted Strathspey composition in our repertoire, and it strikes me that the melody doesn't follow. The phrases of this melody almost follow the full 8 beats or 2 bars for the full phrase. It's just extremely intelligent and inventive, and still fresh. And it's one of those tunes that just never seems to get old. And it's just pure genius, as was Donald MacLeod, and to my mind. And then, speaking of genius, a seg to Pipe Major George S. MacLellan. He's another fellow that didn't live a long life, but he sure led a productive life. He died before he was the age of 50, in his late 40s, and not before he produced a fantastically brilliant, is that redundant? I don't know, but it's fantastically brilliant book of music, his Highland bagpipe music. I don't want to go on too much about George, but I will go on with his composition, The Little Cascade. Again, it's minor key. I'm seeing now that there's a pattern here for my likes. And this tune is played, there's no one style of playing this tune. It seems to me pipers play it dotted, cut, round, and it's a standard in the folk or the traditional music scene. And in fact, it is now not in copyright anymore, because so people can play it as they like, as often as they like, without any worries of pesky fees to pay. We know that always happens in pipe music anyways, right? Just one interesting thing to me about this tune, among many, the 4th part has always reminded me of kids going at each other in a schoolyard. It's like, you know, that kind of thing. So there's an interplay of phrasing that evokes children teasing each other. Anyway, it's a great tune. I'm not belittling the tune because of that. It's just, it probably is the greatest light music composition that we have, The Little Cascade.
All right, it's almost wrap time, and we've had some incredible performances here this evening. Thanks to Jenny Hazzard, Colin MacLellan, and who, may I ask, was playing the role of the late Angus Mackay? Michael, we should give them a shout out.
Absolutely. The one and only Gary West, that people will know as the voice of BBC's Pipeline program, and a great musician in his own right. An actor too, as we now find out.
Well, yeah, and method actor a little bit with those mutton chops.
He was in with both feet.
And also a big thanks off the top. We had a chat, a little round table with John Slavin, and awesome to have this great cast here this evening to celebrate the launch of your book, Gray's Notes. Where can people buy this, Michael? Where can people get it?
They can get it from the National Piping Center shop, that's online, or in the shop with a mask on, or you can order it online from my website, dunabro.com.
Gray's Notes on a life around bagpipes. Appreciate you inviting me to host here tonight, Michael, and thanks to everyone who's been tuning in, and best of luck with this book and this venture.
Thanks, Chris, and thanks to everybody as well for having a listen. Take care.